now that you've got an introduction to our level and you're at least relatively familiar with the environment in which we're going to be working, we're now going to create a character stand-in. Now I say stand-in because up to this point we're not going to be using a full bipedal animated character brought in from a third-party package such as Maya. We don't need it yet. Our focus at the moment is just to get the very basics of our third-party character system in place, so we just need some kind of object that we can point at and say, this is going to be our character. Now, the first part of this, we're going to set up the essentials, what you really need to follow along. Once we've got the essentials in place, we're going to have a little bit of fun with our particular character. If you don't want to follow along through that and you just want to make a really basic character that has some sort of forward indicator, by all means, you can do that. So if you want to create something fun like we do, then you can just follow along with the whole video. So, Lee, what are we going to do, man?
All right. Well, what we've already done is, as part of the character building process, I had Zach model me out a little stand-in that represented the height of the character that he was building at the time. Now, the reason that I did this was when you're building a level and you're designing stuff, you want to design it around the scale that your main character is going to be.
Yeah, even if it has to be an approximate scale. I mean, you can start off the whole design process by saying, well, our character is going to be 6 feet tall. Or, you know, whatever that works out to in meters. I'm really terrible at that conversion in my head. But that's where you're going to begin. And so what we've got here is a prefabricated piece of geometry where I literally took the character that was designed in Maya to be at a set height, and I created a capsule in Maya that was the exact same height.
Right.
Now, why couldn't you just go ahead and use a capsule out of Unity?
Well, I could if I take some considerations into consideration.
I was going to throw out a count, but I figured I'd let you swim for a minute.
Yeah. It's like I was thinking, what other words could I use?
Yeah.
But what happens is we knew for a fact that our particular character is going to be probably about 5'7", 5'8". She's a female character, which works out to about 1.67 meters in height.
Okay.
Now, with that in mind, we could have very well just come in, hit game object, create other, and then just grab a capsule. Now we get a default Unity capsule, which is a scale of 1 in all axis.
Right, and scale in this case is really the only means by which we have to change the size of this capsule.
Right, and if we look, and I actually bring this up to 1, so we're sitting on the floor. Our capsule we brought in from Maya is scaled at 1. The built-in one is scaled in 1, but the one that we get in Unity is much, much larger than the one that we've got here. And if I know for a fact that this is 1.67 and this one's larger, this is obviously not 1 meter.
Sure.
And as it turns out, the way Maya does...
Or the way Unity.
Or Unity, I always get those mixed up.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though.
But the way Unity does their capsule is the height of the capsule is actually twice whatever this number is.
Okay.
So with that in mind...
So it's kind of like a meter in each direction from the center.
Exactly. So with that in mind, I have to actually dial in different numbers, 0.835 to be exact, which is half of 1.67.
Right, so you have to take the scale that you want, cut that in half, that becomes the Y scale, it also becomes the Y offset off the ground, and then you just go from there.
And then I can get something that's pretty much the same as what we brought in.
Yeah.
But because I didn't want to have to do all the math to figure that out, and the possibility of an error is there.
That's when you came to me and said, hey, Zach, make me a capsule. Which,
So.
by the way, if anybody wanted to make one of those, and I'm sure this is obvious, but I'll just throw it out there, create a polygon sphere, grab the top half of the faces, and extrude them straight up to the height that you need everything to be, and you're done.
So with doing that...
Also has a nicer shape when you make your own.
It's not quite as oval shaped.
Yeah.
So, but I know for a fact that by bringing this in, when Zach gets around to giving me the character with the animation, this is about the size of the character, and I know what I'm going to be working with.
Yeah, it does actually pose a nice little angle for workflow as well. If you've already got somebody working on character development, you can just go to the artist and say, hey, give me some piece of stand-in that's the exact same height, and hopefully relative size is the character if you need to, if width is going to be an important factor as well. So now we've got our capsule in place. What do we really need to have, or what other changes do we really need to make before we start kind of having fun with the character?
Right. Well, the first thing that we're going to do is, because this was brought in via Maya it comes in with an animation component, and there is no animation on this character. We don't need it, so we're just going to remove the component. So we nuke that out. Tells us we're going to break the prefab. That's no big deal. Go ahead and do it. The other component that we have to have before we start, and we don't really have to have it before we start. I just want it in place before we start the coding. And
we will eventually need it. Yeah.
Right. This will be needed with any prefab. Anything that you decide to use as your character stand-in will have to have this component.
And what is this?
That is the character controller component, which is found under components under the physics section.
Okay. Now, in our Unity fundamentals videos, we did talk about what this is, but in short, this is going to give us some really basic physics calculations that we will be leveraging upon in our code to help us properly move the character.
Right. So there's a couple of things that we have to adjust. If you look,
obviously,
its capsule that is coming, or representation of capsule is a little bit big. So we'll come in here, dial in 1.67. We'll have to change its center to be 0.835. So
half that.
Yep. Which brings it in so it covers our character just right.
Okay.
That is the essential part of this.
So even if you didn't have this capsule from Maya, we've already shown you everything that you need to do in order to create, say, a Unity capsule and get what you need out of it. So make sure you have some sort of a character stand-in. Make sure you have a character controller component attached to that at the highest level. I assume that's going to be important. And
well, there is one other consideration that is highly important.
Yeah, what's that?
We want to make sure that the way we design our characters or our stand-ins in this case is that we make sure that they're designed in a way that Z forward is their facing direction.
Right. I was going to point that out. Make sure that if you're just going to use something like a capsule, you do add in some form of indication that Z is the forward axis, which, I mean, an easy way to do that would be to just create like a cube and then scale it like a long stick and point it out the front of the character. There's no reason why you couldn't do that if you wanted to. And that would be enough to get you by so that you could tell, you know, hey, this is forward. And so as I'm rotating the character around, I know which way things are going.
Right. You could do something as simple as this.
Right.
And then parent it in. That way you always knew which way the character was facing.
And you parent it in just by dragging the cube on top of the character capsule.
Mm-hmm. Just like that.
Right. So that's an entirely viable way to solve the problem. And again, we've shown you now how you could do that with just the geometry included within Unity. Now, we're going to do something that's just a little more fun, but it's really just for our purposes of amusement. So we have something that's a little more interesting to look at in the video. If you'd like to go ahead and just do something basic and you don't want to create a cute little character out of spheres and whatnot like we're going to do, you can go ahead and jump on to the next video from here.
Right. But if you want to see, you know, us make this really, really super
amazing,
cool character.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and really, this could be considered some high-level modeling. So, you know, if you're intimidated by that, just go slow.
Now, all I'm doing here is adjusting the position a little bit, moving everything so I can line it up on the 0 axis.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was going to say that you could vertex snap, but I understand zeroing out too. That would be just as good.
Well, you know.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I like to work this way. Now,
yeah.
vertex snapping is possible too.
Good old V key.
So, the other thing I want to do is create another folder. We're going to be adding some materials into this. So I'm going to create a folder, F2 to rename it, and I'll name this materials. And we're going to add some materials in here. So go ahead and create a new material. Rename this one white. I'm going to set this to be of specular type.
Okay.
Then I'm going to duplicate this 2 more times. Rename the first one black. Set its main color to almost pure black, but not quite.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really work with pure blacks in 3D. And that's for games or whatever. You practically never need it.
And then the third one I'll rename as red. Again, main color.
Not for character texturing, anyway.
And I also try never to use full saturation on any colors.
Yeah, I still do that sometimes. It's not a good habit, but I still do it.
Well, you know, for stand-ins and stuff
Sure.
really quick, not a problem.
All right, so we've got a ball, and we got a capsule, and we have some materials. Now what?
Well, I'm going to take our first sphere because I'm going to be duplicating this, and I'm going to kill its sphere collider
Okay.
because we don't need it.
Sure, you might as well kill off any components you don't really need.
And it does actually cause a really interesting problem if you don't delete it. And because it is parented into our character that has a
Character controller.
it'll be detected as a collider and it can cause problems with motion.
Yeah, I guess that would be a problem.
So you don't really want to do that. So you want to make
All
sure.
we just want the geometry.
So now that I've parented in our sphere with our character capsule, I've duplicated it. I'm going to move it up a little bit.
How'd you duplicate? Was that
Control D.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep. R to scale, and I'm going to flatten this one out a little bit, raise it up a little bit. W to move. Position it just a little bit.
You're making an eye, basically.
Yep. You blew the secret.
I don't think I did. I really don't think I blew it at all.
You think people could have guessed that on their own?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, probably. High precision here.
I can see that.
Gotta
Really,
have it.
I'm quite impressed. I really am.
I mean, I could have brought out Maya and spent half a day and had something half as good as this.
But then, fortunately, I was here to stop you because I'm sure that was your goal.
I was going to. It's like I was going to animate him so he could wink and had eyelashes and the whole 9 yards.
That's right. That's right.
But then Zach said, "No, let's keep this simple."
Well, this design has a little more visual appeal. It has more character.
Well, it is a character.
I feel like
after
I
all.
know this guy. And his kind of strange, myopic eye problem here. Awesome. There you go.
So,
You gonna name your spheres?
Yep. That's what I'm going to do next. So F2. This is the right eye. And the left eye. Right pupil. And the
Gooseball.
Gooseball.
Oh, sorry. No.
Private joke.
Left pupil.
Yeah.
The left pupil.
Yeah, get that right.
Yeah, mispronunciation.
Yeah.
All right, so this will be the last bit of fun we have in the videos for a while, because really from here on out, it's all programming. But if you want something a little more interesting to follow around while we're doing all of the development, you now have that. So is there anything else we need to add at this point?
No, it's got the character controller. We've got the whole thing. The only other big super secret trick is to save your scene in case something bad happens.
Yeah, do make sure you save your scene, but that is going to wrap things up for this video. Thanks for watching.